Logo, Indeed. Text, at Indeed ENG, Tech Talks on the fourth Wednesday of every month. Engineering.indeed.com. Title slide, diving deeper into data-driven product design.
So I'm Donald Wysocki. I'm Product Director for Job Search Products here at Indeed. I wanted to welcome you. Happy you're here. We're very excited that you're here, and I'm excited to be here to make sure that we're able to sort of share some of the things that we've learned. It's always fun to talk about things that you're working on with friends and family, and now in a larger audience with the peers of ours at the Austin tech community. And so what we're here tonight is to share some of our learnings, and hopefully when you leave here, you've learned something about how we do things, and maybe even apply some of the things that we've learned into your own products, companies, and things that you work on. So whether you're familiar with Indeed or if you're not, this is our mission. We help people get jobs. We have one guiding principle that drives all of our sort of efforts and direction. We do what's best for the job seeker. It's not just words on the screen that we share tonight. It's not words that appear in some of our weekly meetings or monthly, quarterly meetings. These are words that we actually say in meetings to each other week after week after week. We ask ourselves, is this the right thing for a job seeker? Is this the right thing if I was a job seeker and looking for my next job? So to be able to put yourself in that position, because we've all been job seekers, and the people who work at Indeed will be job seekers in the future as well, probably at some point, being able to work on something that matters, and that being able to do something that you would want to use as well when you're needing to search for your next job is super important and satisfying.
Dense black scribbles between points labeled you and job.
Needless to say, job searching is a complicated process. It's messy, it's aggravating, it's frustrating, it's disappointing, it's exhilarating when you do find that job.
The scribbles turn into a straight line.
Indeed's aspiration is to streamline that process, make it easier. And all of the things we do from job search to the things we'll be talking about tonight, some new products we've developed over the last couple of years, is all in the goal of moving towards a streamlined, easy to use process. So we have four main goals. Create things that are simple, create things that are fast, comprehensive, and show things to job seekers that are relevant at all times. 8 weeks ago, Chris Garcia and Chris Hyams were on this spot where I am today, talking about the philosophy and approach to how we build products using data-driven product design. Tonight we're going to talk about, move that one step forward and talk about the actual implementation of those approaches and philosophy to actually building products from scratch. For us, it starts with the vision. And in terms of having that vision, it helps define the long-term view of where we want to go. It's aspirational. It helps define where we want to go. And the sort of unifying aspect of it is that everybody is on the same page in terms of where we want to go. Second step is create a version 1. Some people call it minimum viable product, MVP. For us, it's a version 1. And version 1 is really important because being able to define something and act on it quickly, collect data, learn from it, and then continue to identify whether you're on the right track or not is very important. So version 1, critical. Next, we test and measure everything. So Chris talked about the measurement side of being able to track everything from the actions and clicks, things that happen in front of the user, behind the user, the performance of things. All of those things are critical, and that's been sort of bred into every one of our sort of steps that we take. We test and measure everything. And then we do it again and again and again. We don't have V2s and V3s and V4s. It's just a continual process of testing and measurement and improvement. Tonight we'll talk about 2 new products. Company reviews. Graham Davis is a product manager here. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. First, we're going to talk about applying for a job and that process and the view that Indeed takes upon for improving that process. The name of the product is called Indeed Apply. So to put some context and scope on how we view the application process, here are some things that we've taken into account. In the past 12 months, there's been about 500 million jobs that have passed through Indeed. 39 billion job searches have happened on Indeed in the last 12 months across all of our country sites. 6 billion jobs have been viewed, evaluated, considered. Based on a portion of those that we have some insight into, we estimate about 720 million applications have occurred. Assuming about 20 minutes to apply, sometimes less, sometimes more. In the past 12 months, 10 million days have been spent applying to jobs. Big scope, big opportunity, a big opportunity to make an impact on the job seeking experience. So let's dig into how it works today and how it has worked for many years. So we'll talk about the application process. A very common one is simply email, very easy. There's no software to use except for your email client.
Web developer job description.
You find a job. Here's one, Small World Labs here in Austin. Looks interesting. At the bottom of the job description, it says, interested parties, email your resume with the subject line of PHP developer and mail it in. You've applied for the job. Second very common way is through a simple resume upload and submission form. You've all seen this. Here at W2O Group here in Austin, another job description for a web developer position. Scrolling through, looks interesting. Click the apply button. You can upload a resume, submit very simple forms of your name and email, some optional contact info. Click the apply button. You're done. It's pretty simple. Another very common way that most people here probably have experienced is being forced to create an account, go through complex forms, more or less recreate your resume online when you're actually already submitting it as part of the application. Here's a company in Austin, AMD, all familiar with it. There's a button called Create Profile Apply. You have to log in, create an account, do a CAPTCHA, first step. Second step, it's challenge questions. What street did you grow up on? What was the name of your pet when you were a child? Have to do 4 of those before you can even apply to the job. Next, this is a section of the screen. There's 38 forms, text boxes, drop-down list boxes for you to apply to, or to complete before you can even click the apply button. Last one, less of a direct experience than a lens to view all of the experiences above for applying for a job. Mobile. Indeed has a mobile optimized website, web applications in different app stores. Here's a view on the iPhone for viewing an AISD job. There's not mobile optimized first, very complicated form that you're going to have to pinch and zoom if you have the dedication of applying for this job. You do, you pinch and zoom, scroll, scroll, scroll. You get to choose file. Okay, I've done most of the application. I'm going to submit it. Take a photo or video of my resume. Well, I'm sure a recruiter would love a video of my resume. Choose an existing one, impossible. You don't have your resume on your phone, at least on the iOS.
A picture of a statue depicting Cain gripping his face.
So you've got your phone in one hand, your face in the other, and you're doing your face palm, and people are doing this around the world. So here are the 4 main ways, and we'll talk about 3 of those: email, simple resume upload, and the mobile lens on those as well today. So we're starting off with the vision. That was our first piece. So our vision for job seekers is that should be able to easily apply to all jobs on all devices. Pretty grand, aspirational goal, great. Everyone's on the same page. I agree with that. I'm on board with it. Team members here are all part of the process of setting that vision as well. So where do we start? Well, Indeed's a job search engine, and historically, we've identified and categorized and provided all of the opportunities that we can. We crawl the web for all of the job opportunities and present them to users as best we can. It's always putting the job seeker first. One search, all jobs. So users would click on the job and be immediately taken off to a third-party site to do any type of further evaluation of the job or actually applying to it. So nearly every job was completed on another site. So in terms of how Indeed is beginning to sort of put this application opportunity in perspective, in 2009, we created a product that allowed small businesses to post jobs directly on Indeed. These are companies that didn't have websites. We didn't crawl them. And so in terms of allowing them for us to have all jobs on our site to provide them to job seekers, they could post them directly to us. By August 2010, we had about 2,000 jobs. Created a very simple application form, name, email address, quickly have the opportunity to send in a cover letter through a message, choose your file of your resume and upload, click the apply button. Pretty simple. You've seen it before. So for our version 1, how can we make this first evaluation easier and provide us some directional confidence of where we're going? What if job seekers who previously applied could reuse their resume? Simple. Why not just reuse it? I've applied before. Might as well just apply again. I applied 10 minutes ago. I should be able to use that resume again and again. So here's our form. We added 1 line of text, a blue link that said sign in to use your saved resume from Indeed.com. We put it in front of A/B test users, control group being A, seeing the original form, test group B. We saw a 10% reduction in the application rate. We immediately stopped the test after a couple of days and sort of reevaluated and tried to understand, well, what's happening here? Something so small could have such a dramatic impact.
The sign-in link text is moved and changed to the question, "Have an account, sign in," leading to 0% change.
Began further tests. We changed the language, moved the text, changed the font sizes. Small things can have a big impact, so we did lots of small incremental additive testing. We got to 0%. Results from the control group were the same as the results from the test group. Okay, so we stopped there. So why did this happen? So something so small as a text and trying to make it easier, and we think we know what's best for job seekers. Well, we don't, not until we actually collect data, evaluate it, test and measure, test and measure. So something small gets in the way. The blue link, people perceive that you're required to sign in, we believed, and it sort of impeded the process of the application process. Also, maybe job seekers didn't understand they had a saved resume. We didn't communicate it well. They weren't intentionally uploading a resume onto the Indeed sort of servers and having it in their account. It was just there. And so communicating that wasn't very well done. Our version 1 was a failure. A couple of months later, we started building another product. A new team was building Indeed resume product. This allowed users, job seekers, to upload a resume intentionally with the expectation that employers would be able to contact them for job opportunities. It's the other side of our job-seeking marketplace, employers contacting job seekers. We promoted it on the homepage, as you can see here.
Link to upload under search fields.
This is what a resume looks like. Pretty simple. It's just stored on our servers and available. We asked, well, so here's an opportunity that we failed in our first testing. But we asked, can an Indeed resume, where people know they have it, can it make it easier to apply?
Apply now form with 2 resume upload options.
So we did a similar test. We made it clearer that people had an Indeed resume, called it by name, or they could upload another version of a resume if they had one on their computer. Pretty simple. Yep, same results. No impact. So where do we go from here? Well, actually, wait a minute. There were job seekers who were signed in, had an Indeed resume, and in this small slice of data, the actual application rate increased. There's a little spark of opportunity that we identified when looking at the data. So very promising in terms of, well, there's something good here that came out of this test. Overall, it was neutral, but there was a slice of it that was promising. But 2 times a number, a small number, is still a small number, but it still gave us inclination that we were somewhat along the right path for these people who had an Indeed resume. There's something there. We shifted gears a little bit. So instead of trying to optimize just around small things in the application form, we shifted to, well, we need more jobs that people can apply to. And so when looking at the set of opportunities in front of us, we go back to our list that I just went through. Jobs you can apply with an email, simple resume upload, and then a mobile lens on both of those. Applying by email. So that's very common. When we started to examine jobs in the US that had an email address in them, and looking at the patterns of words and text, language around them, looking at the specific email address that was associated with that job description. So if there was text near it that said to apply for this job and a valid email address that matched the name of the company, qualified applicants or candidates, also another sort of set of keywords. A submit resume button or a submit application button with the mail to address, again matching it. So we began to identify these jobs where we had a very high confidence level that the resume would actually end up in the hiring managers or employers or HR person's inbox.
2-column bar graph.
So this was now in 2011. We had about 5,000 jobs posted on Indeed by small businesses. But now we're identifying almost triple the number of jobs that people could apply to by adding an additional 9,500. So here's our test. Let's start again. US only, keep it small, let's increment. Let's try and figure out where the opportunity lies. Signed in users, Indeed resume holders. It was that slice of promise and opportunity that we identified in our previous test. Here's what the application form looked like. We made it clear, we'll send your application to this email address, but also take a look at the application instructions if you need to submit your salary requirements or answer a question in your cover letter. Very clear. So what happened?
Applications per week bar graph showing increases from March to August 2011.
So our application rate, week over week for this small test, granted very small, limited number of users, but we saw another spark of promise and success, 33% increase. So we're on to something here. So let's follow the flow of our success. Make it available to more job seekers. Well, we had so severely restricted our test. Let's see if the tenant holds that this is promising for more job seekers by removing some of these restrictions.
Total job applications bar graph showing increases from March to October 2011.
Yep, 70%. Booyah, it's happening. So we're on to something. So it's this combination of people with resumes, the job selection and population increasing. We're on to an opportunity here that we can follow and keep iterating on this. How do we get more jobs? I'm sounding like a broken record, but this is the intent that we do. We're on to something. Let's continue to optimize and optimize, test and measure. So we had almost 15,000 jobs in the US. We're in 55 other countries. Let's expand internationally. Let's focus on English language countries first, and then go into French, German, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, other countries. We had another over 200,000 jobs within the span of a month, and being able to make it easier for people to apply.
Applications per week bar graph showing 59% increase between March 2011 and March 2012.
Here's our growth, going back to our very first tests and seeing the increase in the applications per week. So going back one step and saying, well, what happened before? Well, these are jobs you can easily apply to by just opening up your email program, submitting a resume. But in this incremental steps, and we're looking for small wins, that being able to have a job seeker click on a job on Indeed, stay on Indeed, it's fast, it's responsive, you can click on an Apply Now button with your Indeed resume and apply. There's value here. We think there's a good experience happening for many, many job seekers. Again, how do we even get more? Let's continue along this flow. So we looked at email, and we continue to iterate and identify the set of jobs that one could easily apply with an email address. Let's move on. Let's look at the simple resume upload. This is a bit more complex. There's lots of companies where that have a simple form, an upload resume button, but the application happens off of Indeed. The actual applying happens on the originating job site of a job board, an employer, a staffing agency, a recruiter. So we look for inspiration to PayPal. PayPal is ubiquitous, we all know it. You're able to complete a financial transaction without exposing your credit card information. It's safe, it's secure, you trust it, it's easy to use, it's familiar. And so when looking at PayPal as an inspiration, as this ubiquitous opportunity for doing a financial transaction and translating that into a job application experience, thinking along the same lines. We worked with a partnership to determine how to best implement third-party implementations, created an Apply Now via Indeed button, have some branding as people land on it when they come from Indeed, or if they come from Google or landing on the company's career page itself. The goal is to be trusted and be everywhere. Back to our vision of making it easy to apply to jobs, every job on all devices. So PayPal is this sort of metaphor that we use to try and sort of build a vision specifically for third parties. So identified a first partner that worked fast like we do in terms of being able to iterate through tests and tests. ZipRecruiter, it's a US-based simple applicant tracking system, software company, job distributor. So we partnered with them. They were very interested. And so on their pages, we can see they had originally just a single Apply Now button in their process. We added a Apply Now via Indeed button and encouraged, and would appear not just for people coming from Indeed, but from anywhere. There was always the opportunity to apply via Indeed with your Indeed resume. Applications over 3 months went up over about 110% in 3 months. So, and this isn't just more applications because we're driving them more traffic or there's more clicks on jobs. We're actually just having clicks going from Indeed and everywhere else, the same number in that 3-month time frame. But the confidence that people have, the people with Indeed resumes, the brand recognition, the trust they have in applying through that process, it's safe, secure, and it's simple. And so strong success with ZipRecruiter and extending that into more and more third parties is what we've done. So we're seeing now some branding success around the Indeed Apply experience and understanding it and being able to have it on third parties. We asked ourselves, how can we make it easier to find these jobs? On the search results page on Indeed, we just list the jobs, and we experimented with branding, similar to how PayPal and Google Wallet and others have some text or branding identified with being able to purchase items on different stores. We experimented with adding an Indeed Apply brand, trying to sort of put some like little logo around it and a value proposition tagline of easily apply to this job. Experimented with it, said it may be worth something to do. Tested A/B over the course of about a month or so, saw a very small incremental increase in applications from it.
2%.
So we started thinking, well, 2% is 2%, let's take it and keep moving. We started to apply the Indeed Apply branding on more and more international sites. It became complicated. Indeed Apply doesn't translate well. And so we actually asked, so does the actual branding, which we kind of are wed to in some ways, does it actually help job seekers? Or is it the actual tagline? So we did another A/B test shortly afterwards, before we rolled out things internationally with Indeed Apply. And we just said, easily apply to this job. We really sort of had a connection with the Indeed Apply. The Indeed name's on there. But we tested, we actually saw a 6% increase in applications. People familiar with it, comfortable with being able to say, yep, I can apply to this job with my Indeed resume. It's easy. I'm going to send it off. So where are we on the progress of moving towards our vision? Well, we have an easier apply process specifically for those users with an Indeed resume, sort of a sister product that makes it easy to apply to more jobs. We've added more jobs, so the population set has increased. We've done the email to employer jobs. We started to do third parties. It's now easier to find those jobs as well with branding on the web. So let's talk about mobile. So everyone knows that the use of mobile apps and devices is growing and growing and growing. And it's true for job search as well. We think there's this big win here where people have a very low chance of being able to actually apply to a job on their phone or tablet. So looking at what the current state of the mobile experience on Indeed is like, more than 1/3 of searches today globally are happening on mobile devices. And it's growing month after month, and soon in the near future we'll be approaching more than 50% of searches, job searching, happening on mobile devices. Some countries are far ahead. In Japan and Korea, they're well ahead of us. But every country is increasing month over month, really at a very fast rate. But yet less than 5% of the Fortune 500 accept applications on their mobile site. There's this serious disconnect that happens in people not being able to apply to jobs. Employers are missing out on applications for people whose only point of internet access is their phone. And in the US, about 31% of adults, their primary point of internet access is their phone. So employers are missing out on candidates and quality candidates. So indeed, we have a mobile optimized website. We have mobile applications in the app stores.
Indeed pages on iPhone screens.
We took the learnings and experience of what happened on the web and began testing and applying this on mobile. On the search results page, we made it clear you could easily apply from your phone. There are not that many jobs that you can, so calling them out was unique, especially for those users who only access the internet on their phone. You click through, again, you're on Indeed, it's fast, the formatting is consistent. There's a Apply Now button that is branded, you're familiar with it, it's trusted. And when you actually get to the application form, your information is already there if you have an Indeed resume, or you can create one online now. And you submit a cover letter in that small box. Being able to submit a cover letter is important. Tap the apply button, it's done. Really simple. We're seeing incredible growth on sort of the mobile search experience and on the mobile application experience. So when looking at the progress we've made towards our vision of being able to apply to jobs on all devices and as many jobs as possible, third-party apply, we're now going on, you'll be able to see the Indeed Apply button on more and more jobs. Mobile applications, we're getting more resumes. More people are now able to use this on their phones and on the web. And more jobs are being posted directly to Indeed as people want to expose their small business jobs to job seekers more and more.
Applications per week bar graph from September 2010 to June 2013.
So looking at the growth of applications per week, we're now 584% increase of applications since the early yellow lines when we started in our initial testing. We continue to sort of grow and iterate and iterate and iterate, test and test and test, and evaluate the successes and see what direction we need to go. So in talking about data-driven design and evaluating and running tests and measuring results, it isn't about just the numbers and the charts. It's not just this sterile experience. The data gives us direction, but what's important behind every click and apply is a person who's looking for that next job or their next dream job. And so we take that seriously in terms of our vision of helping people, and our mission of helping people get jobs. So data-driven design helps us with our mission. And I'm going to sort of end here and hand off to Graham, who will continue to talk about how we use data-driven design to create another product that we've recently completed.
Donald steps away from the podium as Graham Davis takes his place.
Thanks, Donald. Thank you all for coming. My name is Graham Davis. I'm a product manager here, and I'm going to talk to you guys about a similar journey through the company reviews product here. So, as Donald mentioned, our mission here is to help people get jobs. But we don't want to help people get just any job. We want to help people get the best jobs.
Indeed search results page.
So, a couple years ago, if you'd looked at our job search results page, you would have noticed there's really no way to tell which of these jobs are for the best companies. The information just wasn't there on the page. But you would want to know as a job seeker what it's like to work at a company before you apply. You'd want to know, what is a typical day like? What is the management like? Are the coworkers even nice?
Yelp business page.
You could search on Yelp for tacos in Austin and pull back 647 results with detailed information about finding the best taco restaurant in Austin. But finding the best taco is a decision you have to live with for about 10 minutes. Whereas finding a job is a decision you have to live with, on average, about 4.6 years. This is clearly an important decision and clearly an opportunity for us to help job seekers. So our vision was to help job seekers find the best employers. Today, we have 3 million company reviews, but we started with 0. So in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to tell you guys exactly how we got from 0 to 3 million in just over 2 years. We launched V1 in January of 2011, and it wasn't perfect. In fact, we didn't know anything yet. We didn't have the data because we didn't have the product out there, so we didn't have any usage data to start making decisions. All we had were assumptions and strategy to go on. The goal of V1 is really just to get something out there that's good enough to start testing so you can start to collect data to make your data-driven product decisions. So we started with a list of features.
List includes write a review button, seeing reviews on various pages, filters, and more.
It was a big list. All these were features that we thought would be beneficial to job seekers in helping them find the best places to work. And then we methodically removed anything that wasn't absolutely necessary. So, for example, we didn't need a page to display company reviews before we actually had company reviews. Likewise, we didn't need a mechanism for job seekers to comment on a review before we had any reviews to comment on. So we started going down the list and scratching things off. And we ended up with 2 things. We needed a form to actually write the review and some way to get to that form, in this case, a button on the company's page. So we built it. And by August 2011, we had about 8,000 reviews, which wasn't that impressive. It was only 0.2% of our jobs, which meant that 1 out of every 50 search pages had information to help job seekers find the best company to work for. And this was not good enough for us. We wanted every search page to have this information on it. And to do that, we needed 500,000 reviews. We needed to go from 300 reviews per week to 10,000 reviews per week. That's a 3,000% increase, a big, daunting task. So we started testing. We wondered, why aren't people submitting reviews? And how can we make it easier? Well, at the time, it was very difficult to even find a company to review. You had to do a search on our job search site, and then below the job, there was a link that said more. You had to click the link, and then buried in the middle was a link to the company that you could then review. So we said, well, what can we learn from successful review sites, sites like Yelp, TripAdvisor, and Google Places? They seem to have success getting reviews from their customers, their users. What can we look at and try to mirror? And we noticed that they made it very easy to find restaurants and hotels to review. So we did something similar. We launched a search box specifically for companies so that our job seekers could find companies easily to write reviews for. We also added these promos throughout our site. We added promos that said review your employers to our homepage and our search results pages, and also in our job alert emails.
A bar graph showing the increase from September 1st to September 8, 2011.
And we got a little bit of an increase, 27%. At this point, we needed bigger gains. We needed to go from 300 to 10,000. Getting there 27% at a time was really not going to help us, so we needed big wins early on. So it was okay. We weren't really that impressed. So we went to the data to see what we could learn.
A funnel shape with company searches at the top and company clicks at the bottom, with a narrow gap in between marked 12%.
And one thing we learned was that when people performed a company search for a company to review, only 12% of them were actually clicking on a result. So we wondered if we could improve this, improve the conversion rate and the click-through rate on our results page. We looked at our search results page and noticed that the vast majority of time, while we were presenting several different results, the very first result was actually the intended result. It was the best result in the set. And the rest of the results were kind of just distracting. And we wondered if we could take away those results and collapse them and only show the first result.
A bar chart showing a 45% decrease between September 15th and September 22nd, 2011.
It didn't work. It didn't work at all. So back to the drawing board, take a step back, assess.
Yelp, Google, and TripAdvisor logos.
We looked at these other sites for inspiration. Clearly our hypothesis was wrong. An important lesson is what works for one site does not necessarily work for another site. And in this case, Indeed is not a review site. We're a job site. So our job seekers are coming to Indeed to find a job, and sticking a link in front of them that says review your employers or a search box to find a company is really not what they're intending to do. So how can we engage our job seekers where they are, doing the activities they're already doing on our site? So the flow in October of 2011 looked like this.
Review your employers links in the upper right and below the search fields on the homepage.
We showed you a link that said review your employers. If you clicked it, we showed you a search box to find the company you wanted to review. And then if you clicked on that result, you would have to create an account. And then finally, you would get to the right review form. Looking at the data, we were able to build a funnel. Of every 10,000 job seekers who clicked on one of our promos, the Review Your Employers promo, 57% did company searches. Of those, only 12%, as we saw before, were actually clicking. And of those, only 13% created an account. Once they were on the right review form, 11% of them actually submitted their review. So this is like a 0.1% conversion rate all the way through the funnel. There's two ways to improve a funnel. You can improve conversion at a specific step, or you can remove the step entirely. So we started to look for ways to remove steps. And the answer was yes, we could remove steps if we targeted job seekers that already had Indeed resumes. As Donald pointed out, an Indeed resume is something our job seekers could create to easily apply to jobs or be found by employers through our resume search product. And by focusing on these users, these job seekers that had resumes, we were able to remove this step entirely. No longer did you have to search for a company to review because we already knew all of the companies you ever worked at. And you also didn't need to create an account because you had already created an account as part of your Indeed resume creation process.
New flow, November 2011.
So the new flow looked more like this. You created a resume, and then we thanked you for creating a resume and showed you links to your employers that were on your resume to write reviews for. You clicked on the link, we took you to the right review form. You didn't need to create an account.
A bar graph shows a 343% increase from October 27 to November 2, 2011.
This had a dramatic impact. I think as Donald said, booyah. This was very exciting for us. We were ecstatic. Clearly we hit a vein and we wanted to keep moving in this direction. So we went back to the data to see what else we could learn. And one of the things we learned was that the average number of reviews per reviewer was only 1, whereas the average number of jobs on a resume was 3.6. So how can we increase the number of reviews per reviewer to get closer to that 3.6? Well, before, once you submitted a review, we would thank you for your review and give you a search box to find more employers. Well, we had just proven to ourselves that search was not really working for job seekers. It wasn't being an effective way for job seekers to find companies to review. So what we did after, instead of when someone submitted a review, we would actually take them directly to the next company on their resume to review. And this had a 46% increase. It also increased the average number of reviews per reviewer from 1 to 1.5. But why not 3.6? Can we get even closer? Again, looking at the data to gather insights. And we learned that we weren't even matching 42% of the companies on people's resumes. Indeed was only recognizing the companies that we had previously seen jobs for. But we wanted all of them. We wanted reviews for any company. And so by doing this, by matching any company on a resume, we increased our reviews weekly run rate by 57%. So where we started at 300 back in August, we're now at August of 2011. By February of 2012, we're at almost 6,000 reviews per week. We'd previously seen that our promos that were more general were not effective, but we wondered what would happen if we had more targeted promos for job seekers with resumes, now that we were targeting Indeed resume users. So before we showed review your employer as a generic kind of promo, but now, because we knew where you worked, we could show you specific promos asking you to review the company specifically on your resume. And this had a positive impact, again, 36% increase, bringing our run rate up to almost 8,000 reviews per week. So removing steps, clearly we had some big wins there. Can we remove even more steps? At this point, there weren't that many steps to begin with. Once you created a resume, we showed you a list of companies to click on, and if you clicked on one of those companies, we would show you a write review form. There was a 33% drop at this step, and so we thought maybe we could remove this step and see what that does.
Company clicks removed.
So before you submit a resume, we show you a list of companies to review. After you submit a resume, and we immediately show you the right review form for the first company on your resume. Dramatic increase. So clearly removing steps is a way to get big wins for us. So our run rate at this point was 13,000 reviews per week. Could we remove anything from the review form itself and optimize that conversion at that step? We made a list of all the things we were asking for from job seekers. We were asking for a rating for the company, a title of the review, content for the review itself, as well as specific pros and cons. We also asked them for their job title and job location and start and end date during their time of employment. We really didn't want to remove any of this stuff because it was all really helpful, and we thought it was all really good stuff to show job seekers. But we already had some of this data. We had their job title, job location, and start and end date from their resume. So by pre-filling the form for them, we effectively removed that work from the job seeker, which was almost as good as just removing those fields altogether. And that had a 24% increase. We were happy with that at this point. I mentioned earlier that a 27% increase earlier was not that exciting because we needed to make huge leaps and bounds. But at this point, we'd made some huge leaps and bounds, and this was a really nice optimization to see.
A graph with bars for the period between September 2011 and March 2012 in gray, and those between April 2012 and July 2013 in orange.
So today, we've continued to test and continue to grow our reviews. The gray bar is kind of where we left off in our story, and we've continued to really grow tremendously. We have 3 million company reviews spanning 1.7 million companies, and we have 60,000 reviews each week. A far cry from 300 or even 10,000, which was our goal. 60% of jobs now have company information, so 6 out of 10 jobs on every search results page has information to help the job seekers discern what are the best companies to work for.
Walmart company page.
We display our company reviews on pages like this. For Walmart alone, we have 18,000 reviews right now.
Best places to work in Boston page with companies listed by overall star ratings.
And we also provide a best places to work by metro area to allow job seekers to explore this information more in depth.
Walmart company page on iPhone screen.
As Donald mentioned, mobile is extremely important, so we made this information available through our mobile experience. The interesting thing is that we move the needle more by removing than by adding. So it's very much in line with what Donald said earlier. It's simple, keeping things simple. And we're reminded of this quotation by the author of The Little Prince. It says, "Perfection is finally attained, not when there is no longer anything to add, but when there is no longer anything to take away." And that's really something that we aspire to here.
Logo, Indeed.